Welcome to Mary McCorvey Experience Over Expectations podcast, which you can find on YouTube, Substack, and any place you find your podcasts. Be sure to subscribe today.
Hello, I'm Mary McCorvey. Welcome to Experience Over Expectation, the podcast that encourages you to let go of the plan and live on your terms. Today, we welcome Alan Lazaros to the program. At age 2, his birth father passed away in a car accident. At age 26, after getting into a nearly fatal car accident himself, he questioned everything. He was already successful from the outside looking in, but he was filled with pain and regret and confusion. And he searched for answers and finally found what he was missing the whole time, and that is personal development. Today, he leads a global team of 18 people as the founder and CEO of Next Level University, a global top 100 podcast with more than 1 million listens in more than 175 countries. He focuses on helping others reach their own unique version of success. Alan, thanks so much for joining us today on Experience Over Expectation.
Thank you for having me. Already in the opening, get rid of the plan and find your own unique version of success. I'm very much on the same page as. After that car accident that you mentioned at 26, that's when I let go of this idea of what I was supposed to be and started leaning into who I feel inside I was meant to be. And so I think we're going to resonate a lot. So thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate your time and your insights. So I would love to talk with you about being a founder. So you're a founder with 18 people on your company now, and you've grown it clearly since the age of 26, or when did you found Next Level?
So my first company I started in 2012 called Campus Libre. It was like a campus specifics Craigslist for textbooks. It was me and my college roommates kind of thing. And that went a bust, unfortunately. And 10 years ago after the car accident, I started a little company called Alan Lazaros, LLC, what you'll never learn in school but desperately need to know. That was kind of the tagline, the motto. Good luck getting speeches at high schools and colleges with that tagline. But I wanted to bring personal development to the school system because as an academic, I got straight A's in high school and I felt like academics were always important to me, but I didn't learn a lot of these personal development principles that we're going to talk about. And so I wanted to bring personal development to the school systems because I think the school systems are more focused on professional development, which I understand, but personal development matters too, the inner game. Mm-hmm. And so I started that 10 years ago. We bootstrapped the company, me and my co-founder, Kevin Palmieri, and no investors, we reinvested and we went from $0 a year to coming up on $500,000 this year. So in terms of business globally, I always joke, compared to other businesses, we're not huge, but compared to podcasters,
right,
we do very well because the majority of podcasts don't make a lot of money, particularly if they start from scratch like we did. So we're very grateful to be where we are, but we're also at the very beginning. I'm still only 36, so.
Well, congratulations to you for growing it in the way that you have and with the method that you have had. And thanks for sharing your experiences previously, which are very near and dear to founders' hearts, which is, okay, I am trying this, and oh my gosh, it didn't work.
Yeah.
It didn't work, right?
There were many tears. There were many tears on that first company.
Yeah, well, I've been there and I've done that. So. So what I would like to do is I would like to share with you what my founder's cycle is, because I've used it 7 times. And it took me a while personally to understand that I wasn't just being crazy. I really wasn't, have a lack of commitment, but rather that I had found my sweet spot and that I understood what my strengths were and what brought me joy and gratification.
Nice.
And that was an amazingly illustrative moment. So very quickly, what I do is I conceive of an idea I decide whether I want to do it. And for me, what that decision-making process involves is what impact can I possibly make on people, positive impact. And then if I decide to do it, then I go all in and I raise the resources. I come up with all of the money and the people, and I have the ability to do the fourth thing, which is execute. So when I learned that about myself, a couple of things came into play. One of them was I understood that I was not unusual in that way. I just happened to do it with companies. People do that kind of cycle all the time.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you as a founder, what is your cycle?
I think those are 4 great steps. Unconsciously, I'll share with you what my cycle was. So my mom, when I was around 7, she gave me what I considered the best lesson I've ever gotten. And quite frankly, I've talked to my mom about this, and a lot of the things she tried to teach me, I think, were actually inaccurate. But this was unbelievable. Best advice I've ever gotten. And she said, Alan, you can be a CEO or you can be a farmer. I'm going to love you either way. But if you aim high and go for CEO, you can wake up one day and just decide to be a farmer, but it doesn't necessarily work the other way around. I said that once, and someone reached out and said, my aunt's a farmer, how dare you? They work so hard. Listen, it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor. Yeah. But the point that I'm making is my cycle unconsciously, when my stepdad left at 14, so my birth father is John McCorvey, and as you know in the intro, my birth father died in a car when he was 28 in 1991 when I was 2. And my stepfather, Steve Lazaros, came into the picture. And from 3 to 14, I had a stepfather named Steve Lazaros. And at 14, he left my family, took his entire extended family with him. And 14 was the hardest year of my life. My mom got in a fight that same year with my Aunt Sandy, and we got kind of ostracized from her side of the family. And we didn't associate much with the McCorveys anymore because we were kind of trying to be the Lazaroses. We reconnected a bit, but it was never really, the family paradigm was never for me, really. So in some ways, I kind of lost 3 families by the time I was 14. And that's condensing 14 years into, 14 seconds. Sure. But what I realize now, I've done a lot of therapy in my 30s, I've rewatched the movie of my own life. As you grow older, you start to learn your patterns. My trauma response to being villainized or disliked or abandonment was aim higher, work harder, get smarter. So I think we have 2 worlds to live in. We have the real world and the social world. The social world, I often use a metaphor of, is the wedding photos. The real world is the actual marriage. And a lot of us have the syntax wrong. We're focused on the social world first and the real world second. And after 26, I really flipped that script. So after my stepdad left, I was dealing with abandonment, and I realized in hindsight I was trying my best to become a chameleon and be what other people needed me to be. Socially. So in the social world, I became kind of the social coward, but behind the scenes, it's known as fawn. Fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Fawn is appease. But behind the scenes, when I was alone, it was fight. It was aim higher, work harder, get smarter. Because when the past is painful and the present is painful, a lot of times you go into the future. A lot of people who have those big visions for the world actually have a lot of trauma and pain in their childhood. I'm definitely one of those. So I would go into the future, create this big vision for my life, and then that was kind of my escape out of the past and the present because I had to climb out. And fortunately, I had a lot of self-belief and I was taught to aim high. So the trauma response, the pattern that I've been running unconsciously for the last, until I was 26 basically, was aim higher, work harder, get smarter. What I've come to realize now that I'm 36 is that has a burnout point. And you can only achieve so much. You can only strive for so long without arriving before you realize that the only way to actually lead is to have social courage. And so I think a lot of people are fearful of being not good enough in the real world or not being liked in the social world. For me, it was the second one. So I think all of us are afraid of being too little or too much. And mine, I was afraid to be too much. And so now I have to work on actually shining and leading and social courage, whereas a lot of people pretend to be more competent than they are socially, and behind the scenes they actually struggle. I'm actually the opposite, and I had to kind of face that. So that's my pattern. Aim higher, work harder, get smarter, and most importantly, learn how to lead by actually being all of who you are socially. To me, social courage is the big challenge.
And so the process that you used for founding Next Level, is what you just described?
Unconsciously, yeah.
Unconsciously.
It's not what it is now.
Yeah.
Do you want me to share what my process is now?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, so I wrote this to a client earlier today, and I said we're going to talk about it because she's a business coaching client. So I coach 24 individuals right now. One of them, her name's Bianca. I said, this is what I consider the ultimate success formula. Outfocus, Outrisk, Outwork, Outlearn, Outgrow, Outskill, Outtool, Outlead, Outlast. I'll go through them briefly. So Outfocus is what you pay attention to. I work really hard not to allow anything into my consciousness that I think is superfluous. So I don't listen to any advertisements. I make sure I pay for YouTube Premium so that no ads get into my mind. I try to get rid of the shiny and silly. So I don't know what's going on in TV and all that kind of stuff. So Outfocus is number one. Outrisk means you have to give up the level you're on in order to... You have to risk the level you're on to get to the next level. Outwork is just the grind. You and I talked offline about the 21st century being a little bit... The 4-hour work week is
right.
Wild to me. I like Tim and I respect his work, Tim Ferriss. But let's be honest, Tim. You've never worked 4 hours a week in your life. You worked 60 hours a week for decades before you wrote that book, right? So it's a marketing title. But I think people get the wrong idea. If you want to... One person came to me and said, I want to start a company because I really want more free time. And I remember thinking... Yeah, see? Anyone who's a real founder starts laughing. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Right? Okay. So, point made, right? Outwork. Outlearn means you just have to be so open-minded. What you know is limited and what you don't know is limitless. So I'm going to learn from you in this conversation. Outgrow means you grow as a man or a woman. You grow as a person. Outskill, and this is the skills gap. Do you know how to effectively communicate? Do you have the tech skills to actually run a virtual company? Do you know how to use spreadsheets? That kind of stuff. And then Outtool, this iPhone Pro Max. I mean, this is a tool that would have been impossible 30 years ago. And I get to use it every single day. Instagram is a tool. Tools for success is what I call them. Outlead, this is the hardest part in my opinion, leadership. Leadership in the 21st century is atrociously difficult. It's so hard to discern what's best when you're trying to find the win-win, and most people are so scarce that they care about their win at the expense of the vision, and you have to basically... I called our chief officers, me, Christine, and Kevin. We have 3 chief officers. And I used to call us the 3 cowards because no one wanted to be bad cop. So I have decided in advance to be bad cop. So if you want to villainize me, everyone loves Kev. Kev's the sales guy. You know, he's the most relatable guy ever, and no one likes me. So it is what it is. I'm bad cop. All right. And then Outlast is the last one, which is just... I always said my career wouldn't even start until my 50s. So to me, I'm playing the long game. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of my formula. And I don't have that fully packaged and flushed out yet, but I do know that's pretty much what I'm doing. I build the self, build the family, build the business every single day. I haven't taken a full day off in 10 years. And people hear that and they think that's nuts. And I understand for you that might be nuts. Sometimes it's an hour a day. Sometimes it's 18 hours a day. Usually it's around 10. But ultimately, I'm not here to mess around. I got in that car accident at 26. I faced mortality. My highest self said, Alan, you left a lot on the court. You didn't give it your all, and you regret it. I rested on talent. I was very gifted. And I'm done with that. So I'm putting it all on the court every single day, and that doesn't mean I don't take care of myself. That doesn't mean I don't sleep well. I'm not talking about grind at the expense of your health. What I'm saying is I build myself, my family, and my business a little bit every single day. And when you live that way, your dreams are totally doable.
Mm-hmm. Well, I really appreciate your insights into personal development. And I would like to ask you how, you just mentioned you apply these 7 principles in each of the 3 areas of your life. How do you apply it in your personal life? So you mentioned, social, and you mentioned the real world, which is marriage, right? And I asked this question because I was married for 33 years. Notice the word was.
Yeah.
And throughout that process, I know that my desire to found companies and, endeavors, initiatives, all of that stuff. I know that took a toll. That's why I'm single 33 years later.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm single and happy, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I had a lot of really good years. But now I'm having the best years. So what would you suggest for people that you just described? Here is your pathway to success, right? In terms of the real world.
Yeah, so you and I talked off air about personal and professional.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the lines in the 21st century, particularly over the last couple decades, have gotten very blurry between personal and professional. And I think there's some really good things to that. Everything has pros and cons, right? The Me Too movement, a lot of things are coming out women are being empowered. It's very good. The downside of the internet and social media and all of this is that the lines between personal and professional are getting very blurry. And I talk to you candidly. I'm 36 years old now. I started this company at 26. I went into the personal development space and I was a fitness model, right? So there's photographs of me in my underwear as a fitness model on the internet. And the 36-year-old version of me, this professional version, goes back to those days and goes, okay, that was the version of me at that time. And so I have almost 2,200 episodes on the internet of my podcasts, Next Level University. And some of them are deep, some of them are intimate, some of them we're crying on the microphone. And that's a snapshot of me in time. So I always say I'm Alan version 3.6, and at Alan version 2.6, I was very different. I'm far more aware, I'm far more intelligent, I'm far more capable. So of course, hindsight's 20/20, but to answer your question, I think that we have the real world and the social world. I think we have personal and professional. I think those lines have gotten very blurry. And I think if you have the syntax right, you'll be in a good position. Mm-hmm. And by syntax, what I mean is real world first. Who you are and what you are when no one's watching matters most. That is the priority. Mm-hmm. When I said build the self, build the family, build the business, I mean in that order. Mm-hmm. Because I need to lead by example. Mm-hmm. And I think what happens is, unfortunately, particularly when we're young, we care more about our reputation than we do our character.
Right.
And so then you get older and you wise up and realize that's a terrible idea and that's a good way to lose yourself. I had high school friends and college friends and corporate friends, and I was going to be in 11 weddings and I was going to be the best man. And now I've been in no weddings because at 26 I decided to go all in on my purpose, my passion, and my calling. And I lost a lot of my friends, unfortunately. And I always thought that when I became a better man, I would have a better social life. I thought people would like me more. That has been atrociously not the case. I was naive. That is not even remotely the case, right? Because the more you grow, the more you learn, the more you become on the farther end of the statistical bell curve, and the more alone you feel sometimes. You feel more at home here, and geographically people want to be around you, but you feel the deeper you go, and the higher you climb, the less people can relate. Mm-hmm. So we had a $100,000 a month in July. I'm very grateful. There's not a lot of people who can relate to that. And there's not a lot of people who relate to the challenges of how to actually create that. And so who you are in your mind and your heart, I think, is personal. And then who you are in the marketplace and your reputation and your personal brand is professional. And I think they should be connected and correlated, but you got to be very careful with the boundaries that you set there.
Right. And tell me about, you just now mentioned that as you were going through your growth period and you're continuing to grow, mm-hmm. obviously, and congratulations to you. You're doing an amazing stuff for people.
Thank you, Mary.
You found your calling.
Yes, I'm very grateful. At 26, I did, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So you found yourself at 26 and you were in a particular profession, modeling, where you were surrounded by people that were drawn to you or you were drawn to them mm-hmm. in that environment. And what you found was when you had your epiphany and you started to grow in another direction, that those people fell away.
Well, so the before 26, I was not a model. So 26, I was in corporate. I was an outside sales engineer for a company called Cognex. Okay. And I did Vermont, Connecticut, and Western Massachusetts was my territory. So I sold industrial automation equipment into manufacturing facilities all across that territory. So like GE and other companies like that. And I quit corporate at 26 after that car accident. And then I became a fitness model, fitness coach, fitness competitor. I went all in on my health because I wasn't taking good care of my health before that.
Right.
Drinking too much and too often, all that kind of stuff. I've quit drinking 6 years ago and all that. But fitness became the new priority for me back then. Fitness and personal development. Then after I so I did fitness coaching, I did mindset coaching, I did peak performance coaching, and then I did business consulting, and now I'm a business coach. So that sort of staircase, for lack of better phrasing, changed my relationships a ton. What I've come to realize is that a lot of people's goals are a byproduct of their relationships.
Exactly.
For me, it's the opposite. My relationships have become a byproduct of my goals, and I realize that's how a lot of feelings get hurt. I would meet these people and we would co-host an event, and we've done a live event every year. It's called Next Level Live. We do it in March for the last 8 years, and we used to do strategic partnerships. So we did Your World Within Live, and we did Top Notch Live, and we partnered with people. Now we do Next Level Live every year. We don't partner anymore. And the reason why is because what would happen is the lines would get blurry between business and professional, and I take responsibility for that. These people would think that our relationship was friendship, and I understand why, because I consider them my friends. But I realize in hindsight, we kept going. Like, we have Next Level University, Next Level U, pun intended. Like, we're never going to stay at any level, ever. I'm not, anyways. And what you realize is that people get very offended when you keep climbing past them. Mm-hmm. And it's so unfortunate because obviously your relationships are going to have to change when you grow. When you change who you are, when you change what you say, think, do, feel, and believe, when you change and evolve and grow, your relationships are supposed to change. You're supposed to outgrow people. And some people do and some people don't. And what I've found in the last piece of this, if you don't have big goals and dreams, I spoke to 1,000 students yesterday at a company, an organization called ICL Academy. It was a virtual event, and it was orientation, and school just started, and I was supposed to kick off the school year, and we did reverse engineering goals and dreams, and I took them through a process I call dreamlining. But the point I'm making is these kids, the whole foundation of that organization is building champions. Serena Williams spoke, like all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. So if you're trying to be a champion and you're trying to be an Olympic gold medalist, and some of these kids literally are, you have to have a very different life than the normal people. A normal, and I don't mean normal, I mean average. Like the center of the bell curve in statistics is average. It's moderate, average, ordinary. And I always say you can't live an extraordinary life and be ordinary. Mm-hmm. And so most people are doing ordinary things. Common things is a better way to put it without offending anybody. But the truth of the matter is, if Michael Phelps had to live a very different life than Joe Schmo, and I think that while that might be offensive to some people, what I've found is my relationships have always suffered because if you don't have big goals and dreams, inevitably I'm going to have to be more committed than you, and it might tear us apart, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. And what I wanted to ask was, as you were talking, it occurred to me that you are going through, iterations of people as you grow.
Definitely.
So how do you bring the right people around you, because you do need the sustenance of relationships?
Yes, 100%. So there's a saying where no one achieves anything great alone, and I have two sides of the coin on that. No one can achieve anything great alone, and it's a duality, and one great team member can make a great team. One Michael Jordan can change the whole team because they set the pace and they set the standard and they set the goal. And so, no one achieves anything great alone. However, you can be the difference maker. One Tom Brady, one Michael Jordan, one Michael Phelps, one Serena Williams. Like, you need people around you, but it can't be at the expense of the vision. Mm-hmm. And so, to answer your question of how do you deal with this, I actually have a filter of people that I won't spend any time with. And I actually did this with you when I first met you. You were super respectful. I was late. You were super respectful. You weren't entitled. You were very kind to me. I really appreciate it. If you weren't, I wouldn't have done this. And so I have a filter. I can share it with everybody. My screensaver on my other computer just went up. So I call it unmedzai. So if someone has a high unmedzai score, it's an acronym: unstable, naive, manipulative, entitled, delusional, significance-driven, arrogant, and immature. So I started noticing patterns that people who are very immature, who think the world revolves around them, get very mad at me when I can't be at their barbecue. So I realized it just wasn't going to work. Mm-hmm. And so you were very respectful and kind, and I basically looked at your unmedzai score the moment I met you to see if this would work and be a good fit. Because I think every entrepreneur needs to learn. I learned this the hard way. It took me 30 freaking years. Every entrepreneur and founder, every person really, but especially if you have big dreams, you have to find your absolutely people and your absolutely not people. My absolutely people have high self-belief. They have high humility, and those usually don't go hand in hand. Inward humility, not necessarily outward. And they have ridiculous work ethic. And they want to earn their way to their full potential. That's my person. Man, woman, don't care what country, don't care what color, like those are my people. Mm-hmm. If you are on the other side of the coin and you have any level of entitlement and you think you deserve big rewards for minimal effort, you and I are just not going to get along. We're just going to do that all the time. Mm-hmm. And so I just wised up and just decided, okay, I'm going to be my best, and hopefully that will be a star that people can see in dark places. And then I'll keep the wrong people out and I'll bring the right people in and lift them up. And I think that's what great leadership is. It's been so brutal. I used to invite the Trojan horse right into the castle and then wonder why my castle got destroyed. I mean, it was just bad. And I kept getting these character assassinations, and it's like, I've done nothing but try to help you. Oh, so hurtful. But I realized it's my fault because I didn't have boundaries and I didn't know how to kick the wrong people off the bus. Like, a lot of people are very ignorant and arrogant about their own value. Listen, this is about the mission. This isn't about you. It's not about me either. And if you want to work at NLU, we are trying to build the most positively impactful personal development company in history. That is why we are here. We're not here about you. It has nothing to do with you. At NLU, it's a win. Win for the world, win for us, win for the company, win for the founders, win for the team. And if you're selfish at NLU, you just won't last long because we're just going to, kind of tease you out, basically. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think entitlement has been really hard for me, and I understand why it exists because a lot of us are born into a lot of abundance. I wasn't. When my stepdad left, we didn't have cable. I got free lunch at school because our income was so low. We went from boats and ski trips and having a yacht to how do we keep the house in the family? How do I go to college? Mm-hmm. Like, I got scholarships and financial aid. Fortunately, I wouldn't have been able to go. No child left behind. But life has been really hard for me. So for me, it's like you can never own success. You can only rent it, and the rent is due every single day. The moment I feel entitled to my beautiful girlfriend or entitled to this beautiful condo, like, in what world do we not work every day? I don't understand these people who are like, well, I don't really want to work. It's someone has to provide for you. Where do you get off with that? And people are like, well, passive income. Passive income has to be built, and it's not passive. I have multimillionaire mentors that work every day, and they don't need to work. So it's just this mentality of I deserve with minimal effort. That just cannot exist in my world because I have the opposite, which is let's earn it every day. Let's lead by example. Let's become the best version of ourselves, and let's grow a little bit each day. And I think that everyone needs to find their absolutely people and their absolutely not people.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. The absolutely not people are those that really bring you down. Do you have kids?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Yeah.
Well, I got a question for you.
Mm.
So, as a person who has spent a lot of time founding things and successfully executing them, I've spent a lot of time, and as I mentioned to you, I was married for 33 years, and I had this beautiful stepdaughter who grew up in the environment of just the things that you're talking about.
Yes.
Right? You have to you are compelled to perform in a certain way. You're just compelled to do it. I often wonder, we have, and she is my dearest and best friend. Oh. Yeah. How blessed am I? Right?
Yeah, the most. Love it.
Yeah. So what would you have me tell her when she was 12 years old?
Love it. Great conversation. Thank you again. I would say all great things come from people who take responsibility. So when I was 14 and my stepdad left and I kind of lost, like I said, I've only seen two human beings. Between my mom and stepdad's side of the family, I've only seen two human beings from both sides. I'm 36 now. So from 0 to 14, I lost. I mean, it was a lot of loss from a very young age, and obviously my birth father dying. So I looked into the future, and no trust fund, no generational wealth. You know, how do we keep the house in the family? Shopping at Salvation. And we weren't going to starve, right? I need to make that clear. I was born in the United States. It's the largest economy on planet Earth. Okay, I was born and raised in Massachusetts. So I do understand the U.S. statistically, if you research this, is by far the largest economy. The next closest is 19 trillion with China. So I understand I was born in abundance from a country standpoint. But the entitlement, I think, got ripped out of me. I call it spoiled brat syndrome. A lot of people still have it. And I'm glad it got ripped out of me because I looked into the future and I saw darkness. If it's to be, it's up to me. I got to do something about this because no one else is going to do it for me. And so I think that's what I would tell a 12-year-old. And I spoke to, like I said, 1,000 kids yesterday. And I was trying to think to myself, like, what do these kids need to hear? I think aim high and you'll have choices. I think take responsibility for your own future. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's outside of your control. I understand that. You don't control single-handedly the global economy. I get that. But what you say, think, do, feel, and believe is within your control. And how you respond to what's done to you is also within your control. And nobody's coming to save you. Nobody. Like, you have Google, you have ChatGPT, you have mentors and coaches, and I think self-belief and humility. And I think I had more self-belief than I did humility. Back in the day, I think everyone thought I was arrogant. I think a lot of people still think I am. And I realized why. And I don't actually think I'm arrogant. I think that I know now why people think I am. I had higher self-belief than I did humility. Mm-hmm. So if I have level 10 self-belief on this end and only level 8 humility on this end, I look level 2 arrogant. I now get that. Humility and self-belief rarely go hand in hand. It's very hard to have both. And for me, I'm more optimistic than I am pessimistic. And I think we all have to hold the duality of, I believe in my heart of hearts that I am capable of X, and I'm going to do whatever it takes within integrity to make that happen. I mean, it's not just going to happen on its own. So that's what I would tell a 12-year-old is, you got to have it in here, and no one else can see that, and you got to believe in it long before anyone else does. And you have to have the humility to develop the skills and work on yourself and put in the hours and make the sacrifices. This idea that you can have success without sacrifice is the dumbest thing ever. It's insane. It's literally insane.
Yes, it is. Well, spoken from someone who knows. What question do you wish I had asked you?
Oh, I love it. I think the question that I wish you had asked is, what's the question I ask myself most often?
What's the question you ask yourself most often, Alan?
Oh, nice. Probably what's the best use of my time right now?
Yeah.
But honestly, it's why. So who, what, when, where, why? I'm an existentialist, obviously. When I was a kid, some really bad things happened, and I had to figure out what the hell was going on. Like, what is this about, right? And so I think the best question, all of those are good. Who am I? What am I doing? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Where am I now? Where am I going to end up? What is the right answer? Like who, what, when, where, why, and how? How do I actually do it? I think all those matter, but I think why matters most. You know, why Why are people so ignorant? Why didn't school teach us about nutrition? Why is the government set up the way that it is? Why is commercial and resident, like, you learn the world by asking why. Why did you say that? Why did I say that? Why does this podcast even matter? To me, that's the best question in the world, is why. Yeah, of course. Mm-hmm. Now, to give a little more context, why does why matter? Because when you ask why, you get a deeper understanding. And when you get a deeper understanding, now you can make better choices. And when you make better choices, you can have a better life. And why not squeeze everything we can out of this life? Like that. When I got in that car accident at 26, my dad died in a car at 28. I've seen pictures of his car. I've seen pictures of my car. They don't look very different. Mm-hmm. And that was my second chance my dad never got. And I was like, I'm going to squeeze every bit out of this life I can. And I'm going to change the effing world. And whether I ever do or not, whatever, I'm going to try. I'm going to try forever. And to me, I'm a try-hard. For some reason, people think it's status building. Oh, I didn't even have to try that hard. I think that's the dumbest thing ever. Like, congratulations, you don't give an F. Like, that's a terrible attitude. That's a losing strategy. I look for try-hards who want to, try really hard at being better every day. So why is the question?
Got it. Well, tell us, Alan, how people get a hold of you at Next Level University.
Mary, thank you so much for having me. This was awesome. If you are one of the people who wants big rewards for minimal effort, don't reach out under any circumstances. It's going to be a waste of your time and a waste of my time. If you do really want to reach your potential and you're a try-hard too, and you're a striver and not an arriver, and you want to give it all you've got and squeeze everything out of this life that you can, and are actually grateful for the opportunities in front of you, and prove that with your actions, please reach out. I mean, we've got something it's level up yourself, level up your podcast, level up your business. We work with 113 podcasters and business owners, paying clients currently. Our smallest is $297, our largest is $9,000 a month. We got something for everybody. I always joke, the $9,000 a month client, we might as well be mowing their lawn. I'm joking, but it's a lot. And so the point is, if you want to get to the next level, that's what our company is for. We help you get to the next level. We've got a journal, we've got a website, we've got free stuff, we've got paid stuff. So nextleveluniverse.com, Next Level University podcast, 1% improvement in your pocket from anywhere on the planet, completely free. Next Level You, not Next Level Me, Next Level You. And please reach out.
Thank you, Alan. Really appreciate you being on the show. That's it for today on Experience Over Expectation. I'm Mary McCorvey, and please, here we go with a bit of shameless self-promotion. My book, Experience Over Expectation, is coming out September 23rd, wherever you get your books. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And please, let go of the plan. Live on your terms. Have a great day.
You've been listening to Mary McCorvey's Experience Over Expectations podcast. Be sure to subscribe today on YouTube and Substack, or listen wherever you find your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in.